Sweet comic Valentine, I forgot a bunch of notes. Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. This is Gemini Brett with part 7 of who knows how many transmissions of my personal feels of the astrology of 2019, sharing a bunch of slides that I presented in a very short time to the San Francisco Astrological Society on January 6th of this year with my peers, Linnae Van Horn and Steve Pincus, and now decided to take some time and pace myself through these slides and honor whatever comes through, not only the charts, but first through the heart, which you heard me discuss in part 6, if you tuned into it, because I spoke about the great Hermes, Mercury, and how the retrogrades of Mercury will be in the water signs exclusively in the year of 2019 and 2020. So Mercury will spend more time in the water, the heart, than all of the other elements combined. And that this is another image of Mercury confirming with the Venus current Scorpio cycle, of which I discussed in part 5 of this series, that this is a year, my friends, for passion. And that when we reflect upon 2019, we see love. So I want to speak quickly again, as I did at the end of last video, before I decided that this should be a presentation in and of itself, part 7 of my sweet Valentine, Anna Zaharia, who has done such amazing co-creative work with me to bring so many of the visions that I have into illustrative space. And one of them is this. So this is an idea of the three-brained being and the elements that we honor as astrologers. That actually came, after zodiacal astrology and even tropical astrology was formed. There was kind of an Aristotelian elemental philosophy now embedded into our astrology, right? So, let me leave that there for now. Let me speak about the three-brained being. This came to me through my dear friend, the Birdman, who shared about his work in the Gurdjieffian tradition, G.I. Gurdjieff, right? Who was an amazing spiritual savant and left us lots of codes to explore what this thing called soul really is. And one of his great works, which is known as Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, interestingly, Gurdjieff describes the human as a three-brained being. And we can look at this elementally, which Gurdjieff does not, but we can. Okay, so the three brains would be the mind, air, the heart, feelings, water, and the body, earth. Our whole body, but the neurons of the earth brain, scientifically now proven, exist mostly in the gut, right? And the heart has much to do with our thinking, right? But the feels think in a different way than the mind does. The air, upward, but the two brains, and maybe even the dominant brains naturally of the human being, are the downward chalice brains of earth, body, and water, heart, feelings, okay? Now the deal is that these three brains are typically moving in very different directions. And Mike, the Birdman, gave me this wonderful example, which is when you drive a car, your body does all of that. Your body brain stops at the signs and puts the blinkers on and does the thing for the most part. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't stay focused on our driving. I'm saying that we do naturally once it becomes secondhand. A maybe or better expression of natural thinking that we're not necessarily conscious of is our heartbeat and our breath typically and stuff like that. But we can become conscious of our breath, right? We can become very conscious of our driving, but you will see that we often drive on autopilot, and it is the earth or the body brain that is doing most of that stuff. So the mind brain can have its time to play with a to-do list or the stress about how I'm not there on time or need to get there or whatever, you know? We do too much of that, right? Monkey minding. And the heart's maybe swimming in the love of the other that you experienced that morning, or in the pain of something you heard on the news, or whatever it wants to be, right? So the air and the heart, the air and the water and the earth are typically moving in different directions. Now, if we can align these three, and this is not necessarily a Gurdjieffian thing, who did describe the human being as a three-elemental or three-brained being, is what he said. We'll apply the elements and say this: if we can align these three, and there's age-old practices, right? Like mala beads, rosary, you know, mala, where you're moving in sequence through the 108 beads, repeating a mantra, you know, air, voice, earth, right? Mala, movement. And in between that throat of the voice and that movement, which is really controlled by the body brain so much in our gut, lives this heart. And we can, through time, bring awareness into the heart center by combining the powerful forces of the air and earth brains, the body and the mind. And this is a way for us to access spirit, which we could say higher mind, because in this transmission, and we could do this for any of the elements, but in this transmission, these three are held in a sense by the fire, the intuition, the spirit, okay? So that if we can align the body, the heart, and the mind through practice, presence, then we can access the higher self, the higher mind, the higher fire. And it is that place where we know ourselves that connects us to the mind of the one thing, the all. Know thyself, yeah? Not just in your mind or what you think about yourself, in your feels and in your actions. All right. And so the alchemist drew, in a sense, the map of the elements that very much worked with this. And density, fire the most subtle, earth the most growth. And Hermes says in the tablet, separate thou the fire and the earth sweetly and with great ingenuity. It rises to the heavens, and again it descends to the earth, achieving the force of things superior and inferior. By this means, all obscurity shall fly from you. So was the world created, and such. Anyway, I think it's very important for us to connect to that truth of fire and mind, but I think it can be a pitfall for us to think of the fire so far outside of ourselves, that we are so removed from spirit, right? So to me, there's a beautiful part of this intention is actually to grab that one fire of the one true thing and bring it into this one fire, into us as individuals. And then I love to park that fire between the earth and the heart, because it warms the water so the feelings cannot be suppressed, right? By the friction and the forces that warm the wood of the body, the water of our heart and feelings is expressed, and this brings a steamy consciousness, a heart-centered air that now has the heat of that fire all intact within the monkey suit vehicle of our current incarnational experience. All right. Importantly, what does this mean for this year of 2019? Well, Pluto is in Capricorn. All right. Has been, will be. Neptune in Pisces. Has been, will be. Uranus heading to Taurus. Uranus went into Taurus May 15th, 2018, hit the brakes in August, retrograded back to Aries fire in November of 2018, where we begin the year of 2019, the calendar year, oddly, of 2019, with Uranus in the fires of Aries, but Uranus soon in March will regress Taurus, ingress Taurus, and stay there for some time, all right? So Uranus this year of 2019, fire, Aries, Earth, Taurus. Chiron, Aries. However, Chiron, who moved into Aries in 2018, like Uranus, from Aries to Pisces, Chiron backed it up to finish some business in the Pisces mysteries before Chiron will return to Aries this year of 2019 to stay for a while. So Chiron in 2019, Aries fire, Pisces water. Or maybe I should say sequentially Pisces water and then Aries fire, okay? Saturn, Capricorn the whole year. Earth, Jupiter, Sagittarius the whole year. Fire. As I've discussed in previous videos, Mars will see many of the signs, but Mars in a Leo cycle, fire, coming into this 2019 year, if you honor the cycle as I have come to, but will in September 2nd, 2019, shift from a fire Leo cycle to an Earth Virgo cycle. If you begin the cycles as I come to with the interior, with the Cazimis. There is no interior Cazimi for Mars. I'm used to speaking about Venus and Mercury as I have in the last parts of this transmission. If you begin the cycle with Sun conjunct Mars, it was July of 2017 where those two last met in the sign of Leo. We are currently in that cycle, and there will be a Sun-Mars conjunction in the sign of Virgo in September of 2019. So Leo, fire, Virgo, Earth. Venus in a Scorpio cycle, October 26, 2018. Retrograde Venus conjoined Sun, the interior Cazimi, beginning the cycle, which on its other side, halfway through a Scorpio cycle, will be reactivated at death and rebirth in the fires of Leo. So Venus, Scorpio water, and Leo fire. All right. Mercury, all of the retrogrades in the water this year, right? So Mercury will see all of the signs, but again, because Mercury's retrogrades are all in water signs, Mercury will spend more time in the water element, the heart, than all three of the other elements combined. The nodes recently regressed from North lunar node Leo, South lunar node Aquarius, where they were for about 1.6 years, as they do. In November, it was November 6th, 2018, the same day that Uranus went back from Taurus back into Aries, the nodes retrograded back, North node from Leo to Cancer and South node from Aquarius to Capricorn. So the nodes in elemental Cancer water and Capricorn earth. All right. So here we have Moon in a sense and Sun in a sense, which are represented by the nodes, because of course Moon makes her way through the zodiac every 27.3 days, and Sun through the zodiac in 365.242199 days and change, right? Month in a year. But if we honor them by the places where, from Earth's point of view, they are one, and this is the lunar nodes, well, for the entire year of calendar 2019, North node, water of Cancer, South node, Earth of Capricorn, you see? So Moon, Sun in that respect, that reflection by the nodes, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. We can bring in asteroids, and we actually see a little air. We can do a lot of things, okay? But here's a lot of beings who say fire, spirit, intuition, water, heart, feelings, earth, body, senses. Where is the air? A deflated balloon, right? No air signs from this perspective of outer planet travel and inner planet, or faster planet, because Mars is an outer planet, but fast planet, faster planet by cycle, synodic cycle, as I discussed in parts 4, Mars, 5, Venus, and 6, Mercury of this series. And we'll get into the nodes and the eclipses as we move forward into some of the most powerful alignments of our time, not just 2019, but it's been around, the sun and the earth. All right. What up with this deflated balloon? What's up with an airless year? Have you astrologers experienced a nativity, somebody's birth chart that lacks an element? What do you say about that? You know, some say, well, that means you mastered that element in the past, and so your focus is in other places. Others say, well, you're going to have to really deeply set your intention on that element, because you don't have planetary guides that are going to force you into those trainings. And so it's up to you to, in a sense, complete yourself elementally where you might be deficient, right? A scary word, but the one that was used in the past. two completely contradictory philosophies that I just said. And of course, there are many, many. Says Gemini, and the many truths as discussed in the previous video. But what about the one truth, you know? What does it mean that the balloon is deflated in the year of 2019, that there are no air signs from this perspective? And then how significant will it be that we have the sun moving through air signs, moon moving through air signs, Venus, Mars, Mercury moving through air signs, you know? I mean, even that the truth that there comes soon a total lunar eclipse with sun in the air of Aquarius. All right, leave that there for now. Is this mindless? The deflated balloon for 2019? Is that good? What is good about that? Well, you know, in so many of the trainings, get out of the mind, get into the heart. Or mind and body. What if we just go full body brain and really reconnect? Or spirit and intuition and not so much thought or casting electional charts that, you know, and this is the thing as astrologers, at least for me, sold a house recently. It's like, all right, yeah, I can move out by then. This is the right time. Eclipse season. The retrogrades, you know, all the rules tell me I'm not allowed to sell it then, and I watched literally my house depreciate as I waited for the right astrology. Astrologers who I shared with about it disagreed because there are so many ways to pet the cosmic cat, and in a sense there should be as many astrologies as there are astrologers. And I ended up reaching out to a great electional astrologer, young wizard, Wade Caves, who sent me a date, and I went with it. And the house sold, and etc. Yeah, so thank you, Wade. It was not without some interesting happenings along the way that also showed up in the selectional chart, because you can never have the perfect chart and it just gets so damn confusing and we can go, pardon my language, fucking mental over it. Deflate that balloon. What if we return to art before chart as part of our astrological art? Now, I'm not saying we should abandon the beautiful science of astrology. It's what I love and what I do. And I'm a very mind being and could certainly use being a little bit less of that. So I appreciate this deflated balloons of 2019 that just might be a beautiful red carpet invitation for me to release some of my conditioning, programming, and habits that would keep me so occupied in the mind that I don't really feel what's happening in my heart or experience what's happening in my body through my senses and see the world around me through my own eyes and nose and ears and such. Sometimes that very powerful thought can keep us also out of higher mind. Yeah, and so you can go back to the 6th episode here of these transmissions where I spoke about the current Sagittarius Mercury cycle. It speaks more to this. Kind of getting a little airless, even though the exterior conjunction, as I mentioned in the last video, in the sign of Aquarius. Yeah. But there wants to be a revolution of revelation. And I think this is very important this year of 2019. I think this is a great gift from this sense of the deflated balloon in 2019, because if we all jump ahead in 2020 and get all stressed out about what it means for Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto to come together, what it means even just for Saturn and Pluto and their dance, which is somewhat terrifying, and do all these calculations and we fast forward to the future and get out of this moment now that exists where? In the body, where the heart lives. So important for us to be in that chalice side and embody involution, down and in, so we can get to the spirit not only through what we think it means, where we get lost in a lot of rules, commandments. All right, so the beauty of the deflated balloon says, be less logical and less rational so you can have a greater human experience. Well, what is it to be less rational and less logical? Is that always good? The mind is a terrible thing to waste. The mind is a beautiful thing. So obviously we need to understand that in the year of 2019, there is going to be a bit of less understanding. It's going to be a little less natural for us to go to the beautiful gift of the air, brain, of the mind and thought and communication. And so I will not say that there's no air this year because we've already figured it out. Say there's no air this year because the balloon was full of some carbon monoxide, and needs to release the clutter of the mind and get into the beauty of the spirit, the heart, the body, so that when we come back, so we can purify the airspace and now fill our balloon with wise air moving forward. Earth, connect to the wisdom of the ancestors in the earth and the land itself, which exists in the cells of our body and each of the DNA library cells that we hold, and is really resonant Sagittarius Earth fire, bringing us on the spiritual quest, so resonant in the nodes of the earth grid, in the sacred spaces. So I'll get woo a little bit. You'll hear me say later that this is the year to remember the woo and play with the crystals and stuff. And I'm saying that now. And usually I would be, I guess, somewhat embarrassed or resistant in my own way too, but I'm going to deflate the balloon that has these rules and conditions of what I'm supposed to think or how I'm supposed to play. And remember that sometimes my greatest co-creation has come through trust in the wisdom of things that I don't understand. So let's let the air out of the balloon, not to keep the mind from performing in its beautiful art, but to help it realign the way it does, so that we can, through the spiritual quest and our feelings and our senses and our dreams, remember the importance of revelation before revolution. This is a year, 2019, to receive the visions that you will bring to the very potential challenges of 2020 and a little bit beyond, the dream, the vision that will set us free. And I said this earlier, I'll say it again, the true spiritual warrior's role is not to shake others awake, but rather to keep the fire warm so they can sleep peacefully and awaken with the dream intact, for it is that vision that will set us free. And we are the awakening ones, and we are the dreamers. And this is a year to release that need to run around and shout to the world the things that need to change today before the ship sinks, and get more into the feelings of why this initiation must have been, for here it is, so that we can bring the revolution of consciousness and the evolution of our soul, because it is the gift of our growth that gives growth to beyond. And I say that always through feeling water, so healing earth, then knowing leads to growing, air to fire. This is a year to not know, and to understand that sometimes the point of the thing is not to know, because it is that need and that expectation to figure something out that often is the greatest wall that would keep us from receiving the vision and the revelation that will seed a true and beautiful revolution. The air will come back online, of course, and it's shown in many ways. Of course, moon through the air signs, sun through the air signs, Mercury, Venus, Mars through the air signs. Very importantly, the January Mercury Cazimi in Aquarius exterior, Mercury Cazimi in Gemini later in the year. Many other great events. The asteroid goddesses guiding us there. But in this respect, and that's a lot of planets that we're looking at, positionally, cyclically, the deflated balloon, may this be an intent for us to go into this courageously. And may it also be a reminder for us not to fall prey to the things we might do mindlessly. So when an element is not shown in the chart, I don't think that means we've mastered it and don't be there. I think it means that we have to intentionally stay true to that side of self, for we are all the signs, we are all the seasons, we are all the cycles. All right. The deflated balloon reminds us, heart before chart, as does a Scorpio Venus cycle, as does the water retrogrades for Mercury's in the year of 2019, with a Scorpio Mercury transit on 11/11/2019 this year. And I will say this, 2019, the year of the swamp thing. All right. So many of the New Age traditions, and maybe ones that are not too old, say, what? Go into the heavenly realms. Don't you remember you are an angel? Ascend right to the fifth dimension, you know? And we watch these things on YouTube and all these channels and stuff. So that's the, you know, I'm saying remember the woo. I'm not saying do that in a way that is not grounded, for this is a year that is about heart, the water that is in the body, the earth. And these, my friends, are the swamp. So as much as in the tellings of, let's say, the sons of God meeting with the daughters of man to create and seed our species, which, you know, in that language might be difficult for us to hear, and invoke the great power of the Scorpio Leo Venus cycle and the previous Leo, Gemini, and Aries Capricorn cycles that I discussed in the fifth part of this transmission. And those should be invoked, for we need balance. Let us remember that as much as we are that ascended child of God, if you will, we are the child of the earthling, the swamp thing. So it's a time for us not only to try to ascend out of here, but to get deeper into here. You came to earth for a reason. You are in that monkey suit for a reason. You have that name for a reason. To fully embody and express these things, to get more healthy. That's something I need to do. I'm much more focused on doing now. Been shaken awake a little bit. And to not avoid the body, because it is difficult, because the heart is an amazing device that is not always so easy to sit within, is it? To trust that voice, to trust that mind. Tricky. We need a lot of a spirit, and we need a lot of body for that to fully open. And we need to release some of the conditions and some of the perceptions and deflate the balloon and come into the heart before the chart, the sacred this year, before the science. Drop into the swamp thing. Be that lotus in the swamp before it blossoms. Be in the mud this year. Be in the fields this year. Be in the heels this year. Be in the body this year. It fit this year. And what is the body of your life? You know, we can, and I don't speak about it much, but okay, you know, your finances and all that, the bank account, crossing the boxes and paying the taxes and stuff this year, you know. But yeah, 2020 is for real. And there is a reason that is not wrong for astrologers to be looking ahead at that year. But if we miss the opportunity to really be in this year 2019, to be here now, we will miss out. And so now that we've moved in these transmissions, not only through what is a year and came from Pluto through Neptune and Uranus, Chiron, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, we will find our way to Sun and Moon and nodes next, because we will see that the water sign, tropical Cancer, true North node, and the earth sign, tropical Capricorn, true South node. And I like the true nodes, not the mean nodes, because I try to be true and try not to be mean. But we will see how that earth water polarity says, yes, more swamp thing and more passion fruit in this year of 2019. All right. So we do things like play a little music on the way out. I'll just thank you before I do a bit of this for joining me here to witness strange hair and perhaps strange astrology, and perhaps beautiful reminders. My prayer when I begin these things is heart before chart. May the wisdom of these beautiful beings speak through me today, and I appreciate your participation in that regard because we are in it together. And to become human again, as I close down, I am fond of saying, may this have confirmed what you have always known. May it have opened new windows of contemplation, practice, and play. And in true Gemini fashion, may it have brought more questions than answers. From my heart to yours, thank you for drinking Astrology with me. If you have the means to do so and space to do so and would like to give something back for what you've received here, you will find a donate button at morethanastrology.com, my website, where you'll also find an events link for things that I'm up to on Earth and in the web space. And a services page where you can book a session with me to tune into the beauty of your soul song. It's always an interesting little play/battle that's happening in my consciousness when I play music, because sometimes I can just play music, and then other times, yeah, I mean, you can even see it if you watch me, my brow will furrow, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, God, this is against the rules, and I'm losing time, and you can't play, and the rhythm will get off, and whatever, and then it just finds its way when I relax myself and allow. Let's talk about the Mars-Leo cycle or the Scorpio-Venus come Leo cycle, you know, allow some confidence and allow myself just to radiate and create inspired life into this world, you know. Revelation before revolution, the dream that will set us free. Be here now in the year of 2019, although also get out and explore, because this is a time to reconnect to that vision that helped us choose this strange, weirding process that set us apart from the norm, but is now helping us understand that we are in this together and we have crew, friends. So thank you for being that. Love to you. See you in space.